Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Jack Harnedy. Jack, it's great to connect with you. I'm looking forward to talking with you not only about your career, but also your book, Snap and Go. And you are the Senior Director, RGM, and Customer Finance over at Hostess Brands. You've been there for a long time. You were at Colgate, Palmolive. You were at Kimberly-Clark. So I'm excited to just talk to you. You were at Walmart. I'm excited to just kind of hear your journey. You got a really, really cool background. You're an NCAA division long snapper, and we'll get into a whole bunch of really good stuff. As a business coach, Jack, I work with people all over the globe, and I work with successful people who are stuck, and I get them unstuck. And just to kick off, because I think people learn well through story, what's a recent stuck that you've had, and how did you get unstuck?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, John, great to see you, and great to be here this morning. And I'd say, when you look at being stuck recently, several things come to mind. And I'd say I start with, outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits, right? And I'd say success is certainly the product of your daily habits. And what I was looking for with my team at Hostess was, was looking for that home run. I was looking for that big hit. Like I was looking for that big thing that was going to stick. And what I started finding was putting together the singles, the base hits, the quick hits over and over and over again made us a lot more successful than trying to just have that big home run. And I was stuck trying to find that big thing, that really big thing. But when I started to step back and said, hey, wait a second, we had some really small wins here that are now accumulating into some bigger things that are help driving a different mindset, which is what we're trying to do over the last 15 months or so. We're trying to do that big thing and trying to get that all to happen at once. But it's really the accumulation of those smaller hits that really start to build up to build that mindset. So for me, it was getting out of that personally, it was getting out of that mindset of trying to find that home run and just start building off of those singles and those smaller wins and making a big deal out of those smaller wins and socializing them so the organization and your teammates saw them.
Yeah, I think it's really important too, what you're talking about, which is I refer to them as micro wins. You need to count the micro wins, especially in adjusting markets and markets that have more challenges, more headwinds. You got to be able to look at your day, your hour, your morning, your afternoon, and find the micro wins. And as a leader today, I find I'm coaching a lot of leaders today, reminding them to remind others of the micro wins, and managers to remind their people, and owners to remind their managers, and salespeople to do the same. So it's really important. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's those can make such a difference, right? It's to keep you excited about what you're doing and keep you motivated. It's finding those small wins that can build on, and you just keep building and building. They make a big difference. So it's that snowball effect.
Yeah, no, I love it, and everything compounds. So I love what you're saying. All right, let's talk about your career. I love talking about right now. You're with Hostess. I love talking about things and productizing things. Hostess has done such a phenomenal job of productizing their products over the decades. And so you work for Hostess. You were with Colgate. You were with Kimberly-Clark. You've worked at Rubbermaid. You've worked at Walmart. Divisions of Walmart. So what have you learned about the power of productization?
Oh, absolutely. I think, especially with the branding, it makes such a big difference of it. But I think as you have to have something that the consumer wants, right? That is consumer centric and your customers can sell, and then you can actually make money selling it, right? So, and it's a across the 360 piece, right? So all you have to make money while doing it, while providing value to the consumer. And I think the companies that I've been a part of, they've all been able to do that, very focused on what the consumer needs and wants. Hostess right now, indulgent snacking is a big part of the big category, and it's an affordable indulgent snacking. Colgate obviously formed a need with their toothpaste and toothbrushes, as well as all the other categories, and hey, formed a need. I worked with Colgate at Colgate during the pandemic with soaps and disinfectants. Wow, talk about a need at that time, and continued to be a need coming out of the pandemic, which is crazy. And new Rubbermaid storage containers, affordable storage containers. So and Kimberly Clark, obviously diapers and and toilet paper. Like, so all these different categories all have a consumer need. And you find out where that sweet spot is, how you differentiate yourself between yourself and your competition, and you have that unique proposition that you sell to your customers, and then obviously you have it at a great value for your consumers.
Yeah, it's so interesting. What's the secret of productization, right? Because today we have less than 7 seconds to grab somebody's attention, sometimes 17 milliseconds on a web page, and the product has to be. The message has to be clear. It has to be fun. It has to be tight. There's so many factors. What is it like behind the scenes? And maybe you're part of this, maybe you're not part. And so maybe what do you notice? But what is it behind the scenes that creates the final product at Hostess or any of these other brands that you've been with?
I think the most important thing, especially as the world has evolved so quickly, you have to be there. You have to be present, right? So you have to interrupt the shopper at any given moment that she's shopping. So whether that be on her phone, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever that is, how are you getting on her list? How she is shopping? You've got to interrupt her. So it's got to be. It can't just be in store and as she's shopping, because sure, like Hostess is certainly an indulgent impulse buy, but you also have to remind her that she's going to the store to pick you up, right? But across the board, you definitely see it, is you have to be present. You have to use the different media available to you to be able to tell your story in a very quick way and do it in a consistent, powerful way. And I think that's probably the secret sauce, is that you're there in front of her at any given moment, and then not only just before in the pre and during, but it's after. How are you getting her to come back and shop your brands after the fact and remain a loyal shopper to you and consumer to you?
Yeah. You keep on saying she. Who's your purchaser? Is it more women versus men, or is it what's the percentage?
Yeah, for us, for sure now, and I think as you look at millennial moms are certainly a big part of our shopper environment. And I think anywhere you turn, it has been a more focus on her shopping experience, regardless. But I think we certainly, obviously, I'm a big consumer of our goods. I'm a big shopper for our family. I am the shopper for our family, probably because I am a creature of this CPG environment. But certainly our big target and our big market right now, it has been millennial moms. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. All right. Cool. So let's talk about you. Let's talk about your book. And so you have a book. It's called Snap and Go. The book is about well, I don't want to tell you what the book's about. You say what the book's about. So tell me I kind of know what the book's about, but tell the Think community what the book is about.
Sure, absolutely. I think I tried to build this book off of my experience of being a Division I long snapper, offensive lineman at Northwestern, but also through the stories of how I got there, through the people that influenced me through my life to help shape who I am. And one of the cool things about the long snap and a punt play in American football is that it's about 10 seconds. So I wrote this book with 10 chapters, each representing essentially 1 second of a punt play. And I had fun along the way. But really, at the end of the day, this book is all about how you prepare so we call it prep, snap, go. So all the preparation that you have, and then your execution, and then how you go and follow that up through the different elements after the play. It's kind of how I built the book around those 10 chapters and those 10 elements, and representing 10 seconds of the punch, snap, play.
All right, so 10 seconds, right? So that is not a lot of time, right? And so, but let's rewind a little bit. Let's come back to the 10 seconds. How did you, the journey to knowing and becoming the snapper? I want to know it.
Yeah, the journey started at about age 5. So my dad was a high school football coach. And he had the foresight to put a ball in my hands and say, "You're going to be a long snapper." At 5 years old, and obviously at 5 years old, you have no idea what that is. But he taught me how to long snap pretty quickly at 5. And
what was it about? What was it? Well, hold on. What was it about that your dad, like at 5 years old, wanted to instill in you?
I think he wanted the discipline, right? So the discipline of practicing a form of something, and obviously he knew through his career that the long snapping position was not well populated. So it was an opportunity. Right. So not many people at 5, or everybody's imagining becoming a wide receiver, quarterback, whatever, that star, right?
Right. Yeah.
I was always the big kid, so I was always taller, a little bigger. So I think he knew that I was, one, would never carry the ball, and 2, probably never throw the ball. But if I had the chance to make a team, or a better chance to make it a long way, that he saw other people in his career go a long way with the long snapping, because back then not a whole lot of people knew what long snapping was, let alone practice it. So he really instilled that. Now, was it about long snapping at the time back then? No, it was about the discipline. It was about the repetition. It was about the practice. And over time, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no! And over time, it became routine for me, and it became habit. And so over time, we decided we kept practicing, and I didn't start organized football till I was in the 6th grade. But by that time, I was able to do it perfectly, and it was, again, just a routine for me. And so high school, and then obviously was a part of my college recruiting allure, I guess, and part of my package that came with me was an offensive lineman and a long snapper, and was able to do that at Northwestern for 4 years, which was great.
So cool. I mean, it's so fun, like your dad said at 5 years old here, and you just shared that story. When I was 18 years old, my dad gave me a set of tape sets and said, "Hey, these tape sets by Brian Tracy, I think people like this will help you more than college." And that's what got me into my whole field. I put it on my ears, and I just knew I wanted to grow companies and write books and speak and, things of that nature. So it's funny, the mentors that come into our lives. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's the mentors, the people, it's the experiences that you have shape who you are now. And I look back, 25, 30 years later at some of the experiences that I had back in high school, back in college. It's just that mentality, who you're playing with, who you're spending time with, all evolve and just evolve who you are as a person. And I run my teams, and my leadership style is very much based on the coaches that I've been, that have been a part of my life, and the learnings that I've had through great mentors and great people I've worked with, especially within CPG.
Yeah, I love that, Jack. Let's talk about discipline for a minute, because, you are, to be a D1 athlete, you're an elite athlete. You are in my opinion, in a complete elite class. And so it sounds like your level of discipline is, on a scale from 1 to 1,000, I'll put it at 1,100. And when you lead people, I'm pretty disciplined. But what I have found is when you lead people, most people aren't as disciplined. Yeah. And so you can't micromanage. I mean, you can, but then nobody will like you. You can't micromanage. you kind of have to meet people where they are and grow them. And so how do you not put your, I'm going to make an assumption right now, over discipline, right, on everybody's under discipline? That's not even a proper grammar, but you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
So how do you lead when you excel in this one, specific space that what I find as a business coach, Jack, is it is so hard. My son is like bright on me right now, but it is really hard for people to be disciplined. So how do you grow people? How do you manage people? How do you lead so people see you as somebody to help them grow and not annoy them or bother them or micromanage them?
It's a really important aspect of it, right? Because I think you can, if me waking up at 4 a.m. and going to work out at 5 every morning for an hour and coming home and getting, on the computer and sending an email to somebody could be awfully demanding. It could be it could really be like, gosh, leave me alone, right? So it's really important that I'm a big believer in situational leadership, right? And there's great books about that each person shows up differently and shows up in different ways, and you've got to evolve your leadership skills to how that person shows up and wants to show up. What I won't sacrifice on, so I'll definitely show up however that person, so you get to deeply know for each situation how they want to be managed, how they want to be led. So you have to really know your people. But what I won't sacrifice on is the accountability to delivering the results. Right. Yeah. So we all have high expectations of what we need to accomplish. We have very clear set KPIs or goals and objectives, etc. I will not waver from that, but I will definitely work with what your style is, what your skills are, because we're all not the same way. We're not all built the same way. I'll try, I'll share how I am. They'll share how the teammates will share how they want to work, and we'll find ways to work together. And that's, to me, that's been the most important piece of it. Is it's not just my way or the highway. It's how are we going to collectively drive the results that we need to as a team together. Yeah. Otherwise, it just becomes overwhelming to people, and that's not what we need to be.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. All right, so now let's kind of dive in for a minute on the same topic a little bit. And so you have discipline, and then you have the discipline during chaos, right? And so you have 10 seconds for the snap, right? And you can make a big decision in 10 seconds, or you can pause for 10 seconds. And so I do this exercise, which I'm not going to share because I do it in keynotes when I travel around the country. But I give this one exercise, and nobody, it's a 1 minute kind of game. Nobody asked me any questions about it. And if you really, of the 1 minute game, if somebody took 10 seconds to figure out the game, then they would do better at the game. But so I want to break down your 10 seconds, right? How do you first, as a D1, athlete, how do you get back to center? How do you get back to center and focus and present when you have your team, you have so much at stake, you have a stadium that is just, half is cheering for you, half is hoping you mess up,
most of the time. Yeah.
That's right. How do you first get grounded and centered?
Yeah, that's great. I think so. What is interesting to me is when I was writing this book, yes, it's 10 seconds of a play, but 6 of those 10 seconds, essentially, right? Let's call it 6, but 6 of my chapters were all about preparation. Right. So to me, at least 60%, if not more, is all about that prep. It's, you play like you practice. So are you prepping yourself in practice? Are you, that is probably the number one differentiator, is how you practice is how you're going to show up on the field. Are you using all of your senses to really visualize yourself playing the game? And that's before the game, right? Are you visualizing what that's going to look like when you're actually in the moment, right? How do you block that all out when you're days before? Are you prepared with faithfulness, right? Are you focused during the pregame? Are you focused in laying that foundation for others to make sure that they're seeing how you prepare yourselves? Are you lining up accordingly? Are you checking and listening to your blocking assignments and seeing what's out there. Then obviously you got to scan. So then you're out in the field, right? You're scanning the defense, or you're strategizing. Where are you going? Where's the defense coming? What are you up against? And then last but not least, you double check your surroundings and understand what's going on. But really, at the end of the day, you have, because of all that work that you put into it, you can trust yourself that you're going to go execute it. Put the blinders on. You know, the guy across from you is going to be yelling at you and calling you every word in the book, trying to get you to screw up. And you block all that out. You block out the fact that you're in the big house, you're in Wisconsin, you're in some of these huge stadiums with thousands of people yelling against you and wanting you to screw up. Because, oh, by the way, as a long snapper, the only way that anybody's ever going to notice you is if you do screw up, right? So, but you trust yourself. You trust yourself that you're ready to go because of all the work that you just put in. So then you line up, you do all that, you're trusting, you put your hands on the ball, you check to make sure the kicker is back there, and then you snap blindly. You step, you block, and you run down, and that's where the chaos and fun really begins. Is where you're running down, and you have that opportunity to have your head on a swivel, make sure you don't get ear holed, and you go make a play, go make a tackle, and with the hope that maybe someday that the guy was going to fumble and you could recover it, which would have been awesome. But at the end of the day, it's all about leaving it on the field, giving everything you have, and then you go back and you watch the film, find out what you did great, what you didn't do great, and then you check and adjust and move on, right? So it kind of brings it all full circle.
And how do you transfer that to business?
Well, I think it's funny because as you look at, it's all about preparation for business. All the different meetings that you have, all the different things that you have to show up for, you're preparing faithfully to make sure that you show up. You're visualizing yourself in a meeting, and you're visualizing yourself in front of a customer, or you're in front of your CEO on key initiatives that you have to sell through the organization. So all that preparation leads to that moment, and you're trusting yourself. And then you get into that moment, you deliver appropriately and accordingly, and then you come back and you check and adjust. Did it work? Did it not work? What worked? What didn't work? And then you make those adjustments for the next time you have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So it all brings it all together. It's what I think is so important is that you have to do the appropriate preparation to really execute accordingly, and execution is that big of what it's all about. It's all about your work leading up to it.
I love what you have to say. I spend a ton of time prepping, and kind of a formula that I talk to clients about is everything you do requires three things. Most everything you do, every meeting, everything that you do, it requires stillness so you can prepare and get ready and quiet yourself. It needs execution. Well, let's move this. Execution, and then it requires reflection, because you got to reflect, like you're talking about. You're watching the tapes, right? You're preparing. You're still. You're getting your mind ready. Then the execution is a very small part, And for me, I spend so much time preparing. It kind of looks like I'm winging it, and I think that's kind of that's the secret. And so your book, and you share kind of like prep, snap, go, right? So you got the prep. You just said the execution is this much of it. The prep is 60%. Okay, now what comes after go?
Yeah, you repeat, rinse and repeat, right? So that's what is really fun. The book ends at a point in time where I have got our kids, we have my family, we've got all the where we are today with Hostess. It's like we're now writing our next book, but we're taking everything that we learned from the snap, the prep, snap, go, and continuing to apply that over and over. And I think the best part is now I'm doing it with a family, a son and a daughter and a beautiful wife, and it's just been fantastic to be able to share it with everybody, with my family too. And you can see it come out with my son who's 9 and my daughter who's 6. Even at that young age, my son, he's already long snapping. He's having fun doing that. He's playing all these different sports, but it's the mentality of the discipline and how important it is to prepare. And you see whether he prepares or not, he can see some results in either direction. So right now, for me, it's all about instilling the knowledge to my family, and obviously to young people, right? And so I've had a lot of opportunities to speak to high schools and to different athletic associations, and I think that to me is really empowering to be able to share the message and to help share what it can take and what steps you need to take to lead up to a potentially successful college career, and then what comes after that.
I love it. I love it. How old are your kids?
9 and 6, so young.
Okay.
they're young. They're young still.
Right. Mine are almost 18 and 21. It goes by so quickly. So I love everything that you're talking about today. Go rewind with me for a minute. I have my coaching. I'm a business coach. I coach solopreneurs to fortune companies and salespeople, managers, owners, leaders, etc. But I also just launched another coaching platform for 18 to 26-year-olds. It's called Launch 3, launch-3.com. Because I have a business partner for that business, because we believe that 18 to 26-year-olds need to be armed with more guidance and advice when it comes to their life, their career, and their brand. Things they're not getting. We're going to have guest speakers every Wednesday. I'd love for you to be on that podcast and be a guest speaker, Jack, if you're open to it.
I love that.
What would you, and if you know anybody who would benefit from the program, it's going to be phenomenal. I'll tell you about it after we're done with the interview. But what would you, looking back, because you're talking about, sharing and giving back, what advice would you give an 18 to 26-year-old today, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, I think get involved and raise your hand as quickly as possible when an opportunity comes up, right? So if your business leader asks somebody to volunteer to do something or to get involved in a different project, yes, I'm in. What can I do to help? Whether or not that's your technical background or your knowledge, you're a part of the team that's going to help deliver something that somebody's really interested in. And I think that's one, is just getting involved. And I think the way that when you get involved in things like that, your network grows and your network expands. And I think, to me, over time, building a solid support network that you can turn to, and it's almost your personal board of directors, if you want to call it that. You have one person that's really focused on your financial knowledge, or you have one person that helps you through your selling capabilities, etc. You have one person that you build a deep relationship with, that for each of these technical functional things that you really focus on. Like, so to me, there's nothing as important as a strong network to help you through challenging situations, challenging times, and making sure that you have those mentors, not just one. We have multiple mentors across the different spectrums to make sure that you have somebody to turn to through a challenging time. So getting involved more often and raising your hand and making sure that you're building your network so that you can really have somebody to turn to is super important.
Yeah, your network is your net worth. So I love that. That's great.
Yep.
All right, quick speed round, Jack.
Sure.
Quick speed round. Book that's had a big impact on you, minus yours, of course.
Every John Gordon book. How's that? So John Gordon's Energy Bus. Let's start there. But that was his first book. But John Gordon is a tremendous leader. Yep.
I loved Energy Bus. That was a great book.
Yep.
We didn't really talk about that, but I'm going to have you back and we'll talk more about kind of, hiring the right people and getting the right people on the bus and all that type of stuff. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
The person that's in front of you is the most important person in the room.
Yeah.
That's from my grandmother.
That's good. I like that.
Yep.
Thanks, Grandma.
So get away. Yeah. Well, it was like, get away from the phone. And she taught me very quickly that if I'm talking to you, you're engaged with me and me alone. Yeah. So yeah, she's the most important person in the room.
Younger generations need to evolve to that a little bit. they are, we are too, but they are too connected to their phones and the FaceTime, and I'm gonna put some positive vibes into your grandma's advice, that it goes viral. Last question. One thing everybody can do to prepare more is
give yourself time to, right? Step back and make sure that you're giving yourself a timeline that makes it appropriate, enough preparation appropriate. Now, you gotta respond to fast timelines, etc. But you got to give yourself a step back and make sure that you're setting the timelines appropriately too. So if you have something that is due quickly and you don't have enough time to get it done, set that expectation up front.
Yeah, love it. Think community. Jack, first of all, thanks a ton. This has been a great talk. I feel like I could talk to you for a couple hours more. There's so many different paths I would like to talk with you more on. So we're going to have you back again, and we're going to have you on the Launch 3 podcast as well as if you're open to it, I'll have you at a live workshop that we have every Wednesday from 4 to 5 Eastern. Think community. Jack talks about so many amazing things. His journey to where he is today. Success is never a straight line. He's working for and with amazing companies, amazing people. He's taken his athletic excellence and flowed it into business and a great book, Snap and Go, that you can buy on Amazon and anywhere I think books are sold. I just want to extract one thing, and you said so many great things, but I always like to extract one thing, which is the preparation. Think community, you've heard about the importance of preparing and getting ready, time blocking, knowing when something's due, reverse engineering it. I talk a lot about that in a big time management training that I do for people all over the country. It's so important to time block and use your calendar, and then rewind and put in 1 to 5 to 10 minute spots so you can prepare and not forget. Right? We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Don't leave it up to memory to remember that you have to do something. Jack, this was great. Any final thoughts? Tell people where they can connect with you, learn more about you, and buy your book.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, Amazon.com, just search Snap and Go, Jack Harnedy, for sure for the book. But I also say connect with me on jackharnedy.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc. too, on Snap and Go. So this has been a great conversation, and look forward to connecting more.
Yeah, me too. Thank you, Jack. And Think community, you can reach me at johndwoskin.com. And if you're interested in for my coaching, and if you're interested in the 18 to 26-year-old coaching, launch-3.com. Jack, hold the line, and thanks, everybody.